Have you ever felt like the more you chase, the farther everything runs? You try harder, you think more, you obsess over the timing, the method, the result. But somehow the harder you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. You tell yourself it's just pressure. You call it hustle. But deep down, you know, you're not flowing. You're forcing. What if I told you, the moment you stop chasing is the moment it all starts moving? Not because you gave up, but because you stopped getting in the way. Like a river, power doesn't come from pushing. It comes from allowing, from movement that's aligned, not frantic. Think of it this way. A tree doesn't grow by screaming. A sunrise doesn't rush. A magnet doesn't chase the metal. It draws it naturally. You don't manifest what you want by grasping. You draw it to you by becoming someone who doesn't need to grasp. That's when things change. That's when opportunity stops running and starts arriving. Because when you stop forcing, you start receiving. So how do you stop pushing without giving up on your dreams? That's what we're unpacking here. Stay with me, because this shift changes everything. You've been trained to hustle, to grind, to chase, to obsess. Wake up early, stay late, push harder. And if it's not working, you push more. But here's the thing. Power isn't in pressure. It's in positioning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He didn't say try harder. He said, realize, recognize, return to stillness. Because clarity doesn't come from tension. It comes from calm. You've been moving like a storm, when life responds best to still water. When you overthink, you block. When you over-explain, you weaken. When you overreach, you disconnect. Manifestation isn't magic. It's alignment. You attract what matches your inner frequency, not what you beg for with anxious thoughts. That means your next level won't come when you chase it harder. It'll arrive when you stop living like it's missing. You stop obsessing. You start becoming. Because true attraction, the kind that brings you what you once fought for, only begins when you release the need to control the outcome. That's not giving up. That's growing up. You don't scream at a flower to bloom. You water it. Step back and let it rise. That's how life works. So relax. Not because you're lazy, but because your calm is now the highest proof of your power. Jake had goals. He wanted the job, the girl, the lifestyle. He was all in. 100 messages a day, late nights, never missed a beat. He thought pressure meant progress, and for a while it looked like it was working, until it wasn't. The girl stopped replying. The interview didn't call back. His health started slipping. And worse, he couldn't sleep. Not because he didn't try, but because he couldn't stop trying. He couldn't let go. Every moment was a calculation. Every silence felt like rejection. Every pause, a panic. And then, he did something radical. He stopped. He didn't give up. He just got quiet. Closed the tabs. Put the phone down. Went for a walk without trying to optimize it. He let go. And in that stillness, something wild happened. The girl called back. The offer landed. His sleep returned. Not because he pushed, but because he paused. Because Jake didn't lose anything by relaxing. He received more than he ever did by chasing. Sometimes the energy of trying too hard sends a louder message than words ever could. I don't have it. I need it. But when you stop pushing, the world hears something different. I'm already full. You're welcome to join. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's not passivity. That's power. Because the strongest ones don't force the door open. They stand still and let it unlock. If this feels like something you've lived through, don't scroll. Subscribe to Inner Fort. We don't chase peace here. We become it. Your mind won't stop spinning until you stop feeding it noise. Every scroll, every what if, every comparison you didn't mean to make, every article telling you to hustle harder, grind longer, think bigger. But what if clarity doesn't come from adding more, but from subtracting? You don't always need a new plan. You need less panic. Try this. Wake up tomorrow and don't reach for your phone. Don't check the messages. Don't measure yourself by notifications. Instead, breathe. Stretch. Take 5 minutes and do nothing. Nothing but be there. In silence, in stillness. Not because it's trendy, because it's rebuilding your nervous system, your focus, your presence. People think peace comes from escaping. It doesn't. It comes from facing the noise and choosing not to respond. You don't need more effort. You need more emptiness. The kind of space where your thoughts settle and your instincts get louder than your fears. That's where manifestation begins. Not in urgency, but in trust. Trust that life meets you at your level of belief, not at your level of noise. So, unplug, unscroll, unclench, and watch what finds you when you stop trying to find everything. The hardest thing to do when you want something deeply is to stop trying so hard to control how it comes. We're trained to plan every detail, to script the outcome, to force results with deadlines and strategies. But life rarely moves in straight lines. It flows. And when you try to box it in, you lose the very magic you were hoping to catch. Control is a survival mechanism. It comes from fear, from past wounds, from the illusion that if you squeeze hard enough, you'll finally feel safe. But freedom? That comes from release. Real manifesting doesn't come from screaming your desires into the void every morning. It comes from becoming someone who no longer needs to be loud to feel secure. Let go of the outcome, not because you don't care, but because you trust you'll handle whatever comes. That kind of surrender isn't weakness, it's precision. Imagine the power of being someone who no longer begs life to go a certain way. You move with intention, but without desperation. You show up, but you don't chase. You want it, but you're not shattered if it doesn't come. That's the energy that brings things to you, because you finally stopped communicating lack and started radiating completeness. You're not waiting anymore. You're preparing. And the things that are truly for you don't need to be hunted. They recognize your frequency. They move toward your stillness. So next time your plans fall apart or your timing feels off, ask yourself, am I pushing because it's aligned? Or because I'm afraid it won't happen unless I force it? Because the truth is, anything that requires you to abandon your peace just to reach it was never real peace to begin with. Just because you're not forcing doesn't mean you've stopped moving. Relaxation isn't stillness, it's alignment. You still get up early, still build, still show up with intention. But the difference? You're not at war with the outcome anymore. You work, but not to prove anything. You create, but not to chase praise. You grow, but not because you hate where you are. You've stopped running on anxiety. You've started walking in rhythm. That's the shift. Because progress born from panic burns fast. But progress built on peace, it lasts. You begin to notice something subtle. The same things that felt so out of reach start moving toward you. Conversations open. Opportunities appear. Now life tests you. A delay, a disappointment, a detour you didn't see coming. The kind of moment that used to unravel you, that used to send you spiraling into doubt, into plans B, C, and D. But not this time. Because now, you don't read chaos as failure. You read it as redirection. You're not gripping the wheel so tightly anymore. You're not begging the map to match your idea of the route. You've made peace with the fact that not everything works. And that doesn't mean you're broken. You've outgrown the need to panic every time something pauses. Now you pause with it. You exhale. You listen. You observe what life is doing instead of interrupting it with your fear. And that space, that breath, that non-reaction, that's your strength now. Because anyone can look confident when everything's going their way. But when things fall apart, and you don't, that's when the real shift becomes visible. People around you will notice. They'll wonder why you're not spiraling, why you're not over-explaining, why you're not rushing to fix things that aren't even yours to carry. And you'll smile, because you know you've stopped fighting life. You've started dancing with it. You're not passive. You're powerful. You're not avoiding. You're aware. And while others burn out trying to control everything, you've learned the art of adjusting without losing your center. That's the difference. You didn't get calmer because life got easier. You got calmer because you got stronger. You're not who you were when this started. You're quieter now, but not unsure. You move slower, but with purpose. And the irony? You're attracting more than you ever did when you were loud. More clarity, more respect, more peace, more aligned opportunities. Because energy doesn't lie. And your energy no longer says, I need this to feel whole. It says, I already am. That shift is what changes everything. You don't chase love anymore. You embody it. You don't demand recognition. You live in self-respect. You don't seek validation. You walk like someone who already has it. That's how life responds. Not to the one screaming for change, but to the one becoming it. And now, you've become it. You've stopped apologizing for your stillness. You've stopped calling your calm weakness. You've stopped measuring your worth by what arrives and how fast. You've learned the patience of power. You're no longer rushing, no longer comparing, no longer available to the chaos that once made you feel alive. Because peace is your new pulse. It doesn't mean nothing shakes you. It means you don't break when it does. And when you walk like that, the world notices. Not because you're loud, not because you demand, but because presence has always been louder than noise. So relax. Not to run from action, but to return to it clear, clean, and undistracted. You don't manifest what you want by proving yourself. You manifest it by remembering who you already are. The people who try to shake your calm are the ones who never had their own. But here, you've found your ground. So stay, watch this next video, and keep rising silently. Inner Fort. Subscribe. Stay strong.